Good morning. Today's opening words come from Andre Maul. All that we share is sacred. As we gather together, may we remember, when you share with me what is most important to you, that is where listening begins. When I show you that I hear you, when I say that your life matters, that is where compassion begins. When I open the door to greet you, that is where hospitality begins. When I venture out to bring you to shelter, that is where love begins. When I risk my comfort to ease your suffering, when I act against hatred, violence, and injustice, that is where courage begins. When we experience the full presence of each other, because of our shared humanity, because of our differences, that is where holy gratitude begins. May this space be a table that is not complete until all are welcome. May this table be a space of beauty, where together we create a series of miracles, and where all that we share is sacred. May it be so.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our great covenant.
Despair. The story I have to share with you today is an adaptation of one called Sophia's Guest by UU religious educator Becky Brooks. And it begins with a teacher named, as you may guess, Sophia. Now, Sophia had been a teacher in the town where she lived for so long that the kids she had first had in her class in the early years when she was teaching had grown up and had kids of their own and sent them to her class too. Nearly everyone in their town knew Sophia and loved her because not only was she an excellent teacher, but she was also very kind. I wonder if you can think of somebody you know who is like that. Now, you may notice as I tell this story that it is going to be one that takes place in a time not so long ago, or maybe not so long from now. It takes place at a time when it is safe to gather together in person, a time we both remember and look forward to, don't we? So, one day as the story begins, Sophia got to work and she found a note on her desk. And it was an unusual note. It read, "Dear Sophia, I will be around tomorrow. I wonder if I might stop by your house for tea tomorrow afternoon. Your friend, God." Now, at first, Sophia thought it was a joke, but the more she thought about it, she realized that if it was a joke, it wasn't a very funny joke. It was kind of an odd thing to leave as a joke. And she couldn't think of anyone who would play a joke like that on her. And then she thought, what if it wasn't a joke? What if God really was going to come to her house tomorrow afternoon? I mean, what if? Now, Sophia never really had been sure if she even believed in God, but regardless, Sophia thought it would be a good idea to get ready just in case. So, on her way home from work, she stopped by the store and bought one of those mats people put out on their porch that says in big letters, "Welcome." And then when she got home, she cleaned her house from top to bottom. Have you ever helped to clean up in your home when you were looking forward to somebody coming over? And then she brought in fresh flowers from her garden and put them in a vase in the living room. And she cleaned until everything was sparkly. And in the morning, Sophia realized she didn't know what God liked to eat. So she baked bread, and she made a casserole, and she made some fruit salad, and she baked some cookies too. All things that she thought somebody visiting might like to have. Do you like any of those things? Oh, and what about tea? Did God like hot tea or iced tea? She thought she better make both. And what if God's favorite thing in the whole world was lemonade? She thought she should make some of that too. She was so nervous. She didn't know what to expect. And just then, there was a knock at the door. And Sophia's heart went, pat, 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 pat. She took a deep breath, opened the door slowly, and on the other side was the mayor of the town. "Hello, Sophia," said the mayor. "I was walking by and I smelled delicious fresh baked bread and I thought I would just come on over and say hi." Sophia said, "Oh, I have not seen you in so long. I'm so glad you're here. Come in. Come on in. I'm expecting a very important visitor who you might want to meet. Please come in and make yourself at home." And so Sophia and the mayor sat, having a nice discussion when there was a knock at the door. And what do you think happened? Sophia's heart went, pat, 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 pat. She took a deep breath, opened the door slowly, and on the other side was a group of children from her class. "Hello, Miss Sophia," they said. "We got together today and we were walking by and we noticed we could smell some cookies." And Sophia said, "Oh, I am so glad you're here. Come on in. Are your parents nearby? Bring them in too. I'm expecting a very important visitor who you might want to meet. Come on in and help yourself to some cookies." Now, the children were giving the mayor some much-needed advice when there was a knock at the door yet again. And Sophia's heart, do you know what happened? I bet you do. It went pat, 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 pat. Deep breath. Open door. It was the entire Women's Covenant group from church. "Hello, Sophia. We heard the tea kettle and laughter, and we thought you might be having a party." And Sophia said, I bet you can guess. I'm so glad you are here. Come on in, come in. I'm expecting a very important visitor who you might want to meet. Come on in and make yourself at home. Now, all afternoon, people stop by Sophia's house, lured by the yummy smells and the happy sounds. Think about it right now in your mind, the sounds of people having a good time together. And the townspeople filled her house upstairs and downstairs and overflowed into the backyard and the front yard. As they got hungry, they made dinner together and ate as the sun set and the moon rose. It was a great party. People were playing games and telling stories and baking and playing music and talking together. And Sophia had such a nice time that she completely forgot about her very important guest. Even as she waved goodbye to her friends at the end of the night, she felt only contentment at having such a lovely gathering. In the morning, though, Sophia woke up and remembered everything, and she was confused. Whatever had happened to God? All during her walk to work that morning, she tried to figure out what had happened. And along the way, she smiled and she waved to people she ran into who had been at her party, and she thought to herself that she really should do that again sometime. And when Sophia arrived at work, she was surprised to find another note on her desk. And it said, "Dear Sophia, I had such a wonderful time yesterday. The bread was delicious. The cookies were divine. Tea mixed with lemonade is my very favorite. Thank you for being such a wonderful host. I hope we can do it again soon. Love, God."
Worthy Whispers by Sanjay Khanna. Show your love to everyone. Be partial to none. Say a hi or a hello, seeing a fellow. Give water when they come. Make them be seated, and let them not be ill-treated. Make them feel free, even though you're busy. Give a drink, a juice, buttermilk, or coffee, with always a glee. Say a bye, nice day, with a few minutes stay. Offer this to everyone, for a postman, a milkman, a cylinder supplier, a neighbor, an old lady or a little boy, an old or little girl. Don't play a ploy. He or she is a God-sent pearl. Give your hospitality good. Make them feel good. Believe humans are good. Give whatever you can. And when you're alive, what else can you give when you're not alive? These are the whispers my grandparents said to generations by their actions. There are so many things that we could talk about in joys and concerns. We can talk about friends that are ill. We can talk about the growing numbers of the disease that is surrounding us, that we now can point to people we know. We can talk about the actions that are happening in D.C. We can talk about our fears, about what this country will look like. We can talk about our joys, that we are still here able to meet. We can talk about the gratefulness we have that we made it into a new year safely. We can talk about the fact that we can call our friends, type them messages, or even text them a quick note. We can talk about our hopes and our joys. Our joys and concerns surround so many things. So let us go in prayer and be thankful. We come to you, Holy One, because we have been frightened this week. We have been joyful this week. We have been lost this week. We have been found this week. We ask that you give us the strength to see what the future will bring and to know that we are not alone and that we don't stand by ourselves. I ask you to bless the ones that were ill and are sick in our congregation, and I ask you to be with us and keep us in check so that we remember that we have a mission on this earth, and that mission is to love. Be with us. Stay with us. Surround us. Love us. I ask all these things in your name and your Son's. Amen.
Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love when it grows in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love when it grows in the winter time. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love when it grows in the winter time. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love when it grows in the winter time.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us today at TVUUC. My name is Claudia Presley, and I'm the Director of Administration. Today is a Share the Plate Sunday. What that means is that any contribution that comes in today that is not marked as a pledge will be split between the General Operating Fund of TVUUC and the designated Share the Plate organization. This week's organization is SEED, S-E-E-E-D, 3 E's. You'll be seeing a short video later that explains more about what they do. We ask you to be generous if you have the means to do so to help this organization. The ways you can give are you can go to tvuuc.org/give, or you can text give to the number 73256, type in TVUUC and the amount that you would like to give. Once again, thank you for joining us and have a great day.
I'm with Stan Johnson from SEED, that's SEED with 3 E's. Stan, tell us about SEED and what you all do. Well, SEED stands for Socially Equal Energy Efficient Development. We train inner city youth on green technology. We want to highlight weatherization, solar panel installation, community gardening, and also recycling. So what we do is we have a 8-week training program. We want to make sure that people get put in the right job at the right time so they can actually plant a good seed so they can grow.
How many young people have been through the program?
Oh my goodness, we've had over 200 young people through the program. These young people do all kind of wonderful things, and they actually get paid while they're going through their process here. We train for 8 weeks, so the first 3 weeks that you're here, you're gonna be basically doing life skills, right? Showing up on time, being able to shake hands, look somebody in the eye, being able to do the basic things that we need in corporate America. Once you do that, then we put you into what we call job skills. And what those job skills are, we're gonna learn how to build resumes. We're gonna learn how to write cover letters. We're gonna learn how to do interviews.
Now, one of the programs that you've been doing is going out to people's homes at low-income families and helping to weatherize their homes.
Yes, one of our biggest problems in our community is how old these homes are, right? So these homes were not weatherized when they first got in. Most of them were built before 1978. We highlight how can you save money on your utility bill? Well, by getting your home weatherized. So we actually bring the employers in to actually train the classes so they get to meet people on a one-on-one basis.
One of the big hurdles that these young people face is transportation. If they don't have a car to get to the job.
So what we do is we team up with different people. Some of the churches that help us out, sometimes we ask them to meet us here and we'll take you to your job. As long as you can get here, we usually say we can get you to wherever you need to go. Hopefully by their first paycheck or second paycheck, they can get a car. This is a wonderful place called the land of opportunity that we live in. But if you're not exposed and you don't have the experience, you don't have the educational level, certain things are gonna be closed off to you. But we have the opportunity to actually knock on those doors and see how you can actually do those things. So that's what we wanna really talk about right here.
With many of our young people, they just don't know all the opportunities and career pathways that there are out there. You try to show them that there's all these other pathways open to them that can really make their dreams come true.
Almost definitely, because again, this is America. So we want to break that cycle of poverty, and we've nothing stops the bullet like a job. So we want to make sure that this is happening in our own community.
Switching gears a little bit, how has COVID-19 impacted you?
COVID-19 has knocked us on our backside, Mayor, to be honest with you. We hadn't had any classes since March because we can't really have people inside. So what we're looking forward to is for people to come alongside of us and start thinking about how do we train outside, right? We're doing weatherization, but now we want to launch into how do we build a whole house? So we're going to need help from the citizens of this great community, still at least keep training people outside with that process.
If someone is interested in seed, interested in helping, how do they contact you?
They can contact us directly here at the building at 865-766-5185 or Seed Knox Facebook, and they can definitely contact me as Stan Johnson as well.
Stan, thank you for your time, and thank you so much for all that Seed does for our community.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you being here.
We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Until the killing of black men, black mothers' sons, is as important as the killing of all men, all mothers' sons. That which touches me most is that I had a chance to work with people, passing on to others that which was passed on to me, singing, we who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. To me, we fail. And if I could shed some light as they carry us through the gale. The older I get, the better I know that the secret of my going on is when the reins are in the hands of the young who dare to run against the storm, singing, we who believe in freedom cannot rest. I said, we who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Not needing to clutch the power, not needing the light just to shine on me. I need to be one in the number as we stand against tyranny. Well, struggling myself don't mean a whole lot. I've come to realize that teaching others to stand up and fight is the only way our struggle will survive. Singing, we who believe in freedom cannot rest. I said, we who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. I'm a woman who speaks in a voice, and I must be heard. At times I can be quite difficult because I'll bow to no man's word. Singing, we who believe in freedom cannot rest. Oh yes, we who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. One more time. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. I said, we who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes.
The Apostle Paul wrote, "Welcome the stranger, for by so doing you may be entertaining angels unaware." And in Hinduism, there is a proverb that says, "Welcome the guest, for the guest is God." This morning, I want to talk about the art of hospitality as it is appreciated and practiced by people of all faiths all around the globe. But I also want to focus locally, and that's where we're focusing mainly. I want to ask the question, what does the Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church have to learn about the art of hospitality from a local falafel house? Now, if you go into Yassin's Falafel House in downtown Knoxville or in its branch out west, you will see this sign. And the sign says, "Welcome. All sizes, all colors, all ages, all sexes, all cultures, all religions, all types, all beliefs, all people safe here." It reminds me of how important it is to create outward signs to let people know they are welcomed when they come into a new place. Now, not all churches are very friendly places. It has often been said that if Jews are God's chosen people, then some churches are God's frozen people. Well, if you've ever met Yassin Taru, you know that he is not one of God's frozen people. He radiates warmth, he radiates light, he radiates energy, he radiates joy, kindness, compassion. He is a very energetic and enthusiastic person. And he carries this joy regardless of outward circumstances. When he came to this country, he was a Syrian refugee, and he was without many resources, but he was not without joy. Now, before I say anything more about Yassin, I should say something about Syria. Syria is in the midst of a civil war, and it's been very devastating. Here are some pictures of the Civil War. And it used to be a country where people of all faiths, Muslims and Christians, people of different cultures, lived together in peace. But it's been torn apart by sectarian violence. And this Civil War in many ways has become a world war as superpowers kind of weigh in and take sides. And so this country has been torn apart. Now, in Knoxville, Yassin is known for falafels. So much so that many people think that's his last name, Yassin Falafel. However, if you ask him what his motivation in his work is, he will tell you it's not just about making good food, and it's not just about making money, that his main goal is to build community. And maybe a sense of urgency he feels is because he's seen what it looks like when communities fall apart, when communities are torn apart. And he knows that building community needs to be more than something the governments do. It needs to be something that every person does. And we need to not only do it through religious organizations, we need to do it in the places we spend 7 days a week. We need to work through our workplaces to make peace on earth. As the old gospel song says, "Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me." And so we might say, let there be peace on earth, but we can't just let it happen through churches or synagogues or mosques or temples. We need to let peace happen everywhere we might be. We need to let there be peace on earth and let it begin with your business. Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with a falafel house. Yassin's Falafel House has something to teach us about a new way to do business. A lot of times we draw a hard and fast line between a for-profit business and a non-profit charity. But Yassin's represents a new trend called social enterprise, where people try to do good as they do well. The ultimate goal of the business is not just to make a profit. It's to make a difference in the world, but also earn a living at the same time. So earn a living and do good in the world, a new paradigm, a middle way. Now, one of the most rewarding and easiest things I ever did that just made a big difference was take a phone call from Yassin. I was driving home from work one night last year, and I pulled into the driveway, and I got a call from Yassin, and he asked me if I knew anybody in Cookeville, because a tornado had just hit Middle Tennessee, and 25 people had died in that tornado, and many people were homeless, and many people were without power, and he wanted to go up to Middle Tennessee and give free food away to people. He asked me if I knew anybody in Cookeville that could help, and so I got sitting in my driveway, sitting in my car. I called some Unitarian Universalists in Cookeville and was able to help them make connections with some other area churches. And in just a few short phone calls sitting in my car, was able to help make possible Yassin going up there to give free food away to people who were devastated. It's not just food for the body, it's food for the spirit. It's knowing that there's compassion out there. It's knowing that people still care out there. Now, Yassin has done this kind of outreach in other ways. He responded to people who were devastated by the fires in Gatlinburg. And when there was a shooting in the Pulse nightclub in Orlando, Florida, he gave free food away to members of the LGBT community and worked with us to create an interfaith vigil that brought the Muslim community and the LGBT community together to mourn the losses of that shooting, helping to build bridges. He's done fundraisers for Bridge Refugee Service, and he's a big supporter of SEED, which is this interfaith youth group that does social action projects that help feed the hungry in the community. And he's helped provide food for a seat at the table. Many people in our congregation have participated in these interfaith dinners where people of all faiths can gather at a single table and learn about each other, learn each other's personal stories and about each other's faith traditions. He also brings that philosophy of social enterprise to the way he hires people. He hires people that other people might not hire. He hires refugees and ex-convicts and recovering drug addicts and alcoholics. And he hires people who are sheltering at the domestic violence shelter, who are fleeing a really bad situation. He hires many people that other people would be reluctant to hire. One of the things that they do, if you go there, you'll see this sign. This is part of a national movement to create safe places. If a teenager is running away from home or is in some other emergency situation, they can come to this place where there's a safe place sign, and they can find the help they need that will help them in that difficult situation. And so Yassin is a safe place. However, the most important thing about Yassin may not be what he does, but how he does it, because he brings a lot of joy, and he brings a lot of love and a lot of energy. When I think of Yassin, I think of a poem by the Sufi Muslim poet Hafiz, who writes a poem very appropriate for a time of global pandemic, because the poem is called The Happy Virus. The happy virus. I caught the happy virus last night when I was out singing beneath the stars. It is remarkably contagious, so kiss me. Whenever I meet Yassin in the community, I think about how contagious his love is, how contagious his joy is, how contagious his sense of hope, how contagious his enthusiasm for community is. So let's take a moment to listen to Yassin himself. I did a very short interview with him, and let's hear from Yassin himself what he has to teach us, what he has to teach the Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church about how to practice the art of hospitality.
So where did you learn how to be such a welcoming person? I mean, who taught you that?
I always been asking this question, and I always give the same answer, to be honest with you. I think what happened with me, coming from the Middle East, when your guest is like part of your family,
yeah,
that teach me a lot. Mm-hmm. Plus, when I come to here and saw people like you and other people in our community, it's just like make it better for me. So it's like I always say, as a new immigrant, as a new person who's coming to a new country, you should bring the good things you learn in your country and mix it up with the good things you learned in this country, the new country you come. It's like a mix up from stuff you learned when you was a kid from your mother and your community, with the community right here, the new community, the new family to you. So it's like you mix it up the good things, and that will create you a new person and a good learner to go.
Okay, well, that's good. You mentioned your home country. What did you love most about Syria before the Civil War? Things began to fall apart. And
what I most love about Syria is like we used to be like we don't know, like we don't ask what your religion you have. Mm-hmm. I know like neighbors from next to us, they are Christian, they are like Jewish. We don't have a lot, but like different believers, and we don't know, we don't even talk a lot about it. We know like we are neighbor, we are like family. So this is what I really miss in Syria, and unfortunately what not happening right now. This is what I really love and I really miss in Syria.
Yeah. And coming to Knoxville, what do you? I know you love Knoxville because you always talk about how much you love Knoxville. But is there anything particular that you love about the community?
I love. I still remember the time when maybe you don't remember it, but I do remember it. The time when we meet, and I hear you speaking when you say we can choice community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I saw something I remember, and I always keep it. I like the community. I love the way we are taking care of each other. We cannot ignore. We don't have different believers. We don't have different opinions. But by the end of the day, there is a lot of stuff they get us together, and they get us to support each other. And this is what I really love. I love walking in the street and seeing someone saying hello, a smile in your face, was just like without knowing you. And like I don't know if I told that story or no before. Like the first time I came here and I was walking in the street, it was a football game and people like start smile at me and stuff. It's like, what's going on? It's like, did I look different? Did I look crazy? Did I doesn't know I don't speak English? So this is like, I really like that. I really like the people when you really need their help, they will be here for you. It's like, again, we cannot say we're not, unfortunately, we don't have, I don't know if that bad things or not to be different. It's like, to be honest with you, I don't consider it a bad thing. So it's like, yes, we are different in opinions. We are different in religion. We are different in colors. But by the end of the day, we are the people of Knoxville. So that's what I really love and I really want to build and really want to keep.
That's wonderful. I know one of Dr. King's phrases is, where do we go from here, chaos or community? And we can choose community as an important thing for us to be able to do. So do you have any advice? Because, you know, I will say that congregations aren't always as welcoming as they could be. And I think you've created a restaurant that's the nicest place in America, you know, and I really think, you know, it should humble people of faith, you know, to say we have something to learn from a falafel house. So, I mean, you know, and we do. So
I think the best things and the best I'm very proud of, and I always told the people about it, I'm a good learner.
Yeah.
I'm a good listener. This is a very important thing for anyone who wants to change his life. You cannot like just keep saying this is what I grow with, and this is like, it's okay to learn. It's okay to change. Like I just give an example on food. Like an example in my food, I always like get the small touch different what everybody make.
Yeah.
And that's what make it like different. And some chefs of my friend, they always get mad at me. It's like, Yassin, you cannot change. This is how we've been making stuff all our lives. Like, no, don't worry. If it doesn't hurt, we can change it. You know, anything will not make a pain, will not hurt people. Why we cannot change it? Just like I think learn and listen is very important. And I want to give advice for the people in businesses. It's like, we as a business, we always need money to stay in business. This is a reality we cannot ignore. But we are at Yassin Falafel House, not only me, I'm so proud of the team now around me, of the people, the customer around us. We all choose community. We all decide to support our community and to stay with our community. When you choose that, when you choose to support your community, you never lose. You're going to win the business, the money, and the people. So this is my advice to everyone doing business, everyone in the hospitality. Everyone is like a member of our community. Yes, we all, as a business, we need money to stay, but this is not our goal. It will come after we build our community and our people around us. And that's the reality what we have right now with the corona pandemic. That will show you we've been busy, we've been working, we hiring, and that's what community gave to us. Community will not leave you if you don't leave them. They will need you and you will need them. So this is a balance of life.
Well, I think you've named one of the things particularly that churches need to do, which is be open to change, open to doing things different, open to seeing the person who comes in whose needs might be different than anyone who's ever been through the door before. So I really appreciate your time and your wisdom and your insight, because we have so much to learn from you. You're a real gift to our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, brother. Say hello to everyone. Thank you.
I will do it. Take care. Bye-bye.
That interview with Yassin was recorded on Wednesday. We didn't know it at the time, but simultaneously in Washington, D.C., there was a violent mob assaulting the Capitol building, trying to overturn the results of a Democratic election. So the question that Martin Luther King asked so many years ago, where do we go from here, chaos or community, is as pertinent today as it ever was. Yassin Tarou has received a lot of recognition in the world. His restaurant has been chosen as the nicest place in America by Reader's Digest magazine and by the television show Good Morning America. But not everyone has treated him well. His restaurant has been vandalized with broken glass and smoke bombs. His sign has been targeted with white supremacist graffiti. He's been heckled when he spoke at rallies in favor of immigration and in support of refugees. At one rally, someone held up a sign that said, "Immigrants take jobs." And Yassin approached him and offered the man a job and offered the man a meal. Yassin tells me that when we break bread, we break hate. Yassin's philosophy of life is probably a lot like your grandmother's or someone in your life who once said to you, "The way to the heart is through the stomach." Or as the book of Proverbs tells us, when your enemy is hungry, give them food. When your enemy is thirsty, give them something to drink. Or as Yassin says, we should handle hate with love, because when we love, we are stronger than those who hate. His approach can be summarized in this picture of him and his family standing before the White House in Washington, D.C. with a sign that says, "Love thy neighbor, no exceptions." We need that spirit in Washington, D.C. today. So let us work together to choose community instead of chaos, to choose a community where everyone has food on the table, and everyone has a job, and everyone has a purpose, and every one of us can build community together. When you walk into Yassin's Falafel House, you will see the sign that says, "Welcome, all sizes, all colors, all ages, all sexes, all cultures, all religions, all types, all beliefs, all people safe here." And he tells me that he hopes one day he won't need this sign anymore, and no one will need signs like this because it will be normal everywhere. So let's work for that day where when being welcoming and being kind and being compassionate is normal everywhere. To work wherever we find ourselves, to make wherever we are the nicest place in America or the nicest place on earth.
A New Song, A New Harmony by Richard Gilbert. By our presence here with one another, hearing the harmony that is the music of spheres, may some of the harshness and discord of our human lives be transmuted into music. A new song in our hearts may there be, a new harmony in our beings, so that we shall return to our several duties with fresh courage and with eagerness and with rejoicing. Amen.
Let people living in all lands declare that fear and hate are gone. Rise above differences and stand in love and understanding one.
I invite you to come to our virtual coffee hour, or send a text or an email to a friend, or find some other way to stay connected so that we can continue to build community in the midst of this global pandemic and create a world where everyone feels welcomed. Go in peace.